What's up, everybody? Back with another live with Coach Steve. For those who don't know, he's my nutrition coach. So I'm going to send him the invite and then we'll get started. All right, now we wait. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What's up, dude?
We in here.
Yes. How's it going?
Good, man. I'm lots going on. Living off the excitement of from last 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah. How does it feel to be back?
good. It's crazy, man. In Italy, like everything is so slow paced, and it's like, they live in a world where it's like you want to it's all about enjoying life and not so much like work. So as soon as I got back to America, it's like the person who picked us up is like on a work call and everything. I'm like, geez, like everyone really lives to work here. But no, it was nice. It's nice to go on a vacation. I highly recommend it for you to go on a vacations. I know you need.
Yeah, for real.
But yeah, it's good to be back, man. Back to the grind. Didn't really lift on vacation, so I am sore.
I was going to ask, how are the DOMs, dude?
Oh, so sore, so sore. We should definitely catch a lift in.
I am down, for sure.
So, but yeah, I just want to, thank you for having me on, and I'm excited to get this rolling.
Of course, I've been wanting to do this one for a while. I just wanted to leave time between the interview you did with me and then this one, because this one I feel like it's going to be a little less about experience and more so about your knowledge base and that kind of stuff. So it should be pretty dope. But all right, I guess let's get started. So kind of introduce yourself a little bit and a little bit about your background, and then I'll start asking some of these questions.
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Steven Marinaro, the owner of Stephen Gabriel Fitness, and basically what I do is a coaching company, and I help people with their fitness, with their workouts, and I also help and guide people through nutrition. So, but yeah, I went to school originally for civil engineering, and then I realized that I actually suck at math. And then I was like, I found my passion through working out and exercise, and I guess we'll talk a little bit about that soon. But yeah, I just kind of fallen in love with health and fitness, and then decided, let me shift my focus from engineering over to exercise science and learn more about nutrition and exercise on a deeper level, so I can really understand it and apply that to myself and others. So yeah, I went to school for exercise science, and did a lot of sports in high school as well. So definitely have a lot of sport background as well.
Nice. So how long did it take you to make that shift? Was that kind of during your first semester or your first year there, or how long exactly did it take?
Yeah, so the first semester, I partied and then in the second semester, something in my life, and going through a rough period, and I started going to the gym with my friend Fung, and it was a great time because he was kind of like my coach, and he was guiding me. I had no idea what I was doing. I did a little bit of lifting in high school. I don't know, did you do lifting, wrestling, or anything like that?
Yeah.
So, once a week you're hitting the weights, and you have no idea what you're doing, but you're just trying to move the weights from point A to B. So I started going with him. Together, we were kind of learning everything. So one of the biggest mistakes I did at the beginning was I thought you had to eat grilled chicken and broccoli every single meal to gain muscle. And what happened was I got so small, and I was losing 2 pounds a week, 3 pounds maybe. And I got so skinny, but I realized that carbs were our friend and not our enemy through time. So, but yeah, second semester freshman year is when I really started, and and here we are.
Nice. That's so funny because it's like one of my frustrations, and I tell this to my clients all the time, is like going through high school, you barely even touch the weight room. And when you do, it's kind of just like, okay, here's a bunch of machines, go work out, and then that's it. Nobody really explains to you how to lift or how to structure a workout plan or any of that stuff. And it's like super frustrating because just like you're saying, even when I like lifted in wrestling, they never taught you about technique or anything. It was pretty much get the work done and don't be soft.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, well, I'll just try to go as hard as I can for as long as I can and then try to get better that way. But so, yeah, so I definitely feel you on that.
Yeah.
So you kind of touched on it a little bit, but my first question for you is, how long have you been lifting and what got you into it in the first place?
Yeah, so going through a rough period of my life, kind of having that realization and wake up call that, you know, health is wealth, right? It's you, your body is your temple. You really have to take care of it. So, got into that, fell in love with it, and over time, wow, like I can see the progression, right? Like, you know, when you go to the gym and you start seeing like small little things like, wow, bicep vein, or you know, I can start seeing like my quad or whatever. Um, it's it's such a great feeling. So I started falling in love with that progress, and I was like, you know, I don't know if you like, I don't know, maybe in like 2014, like remember seeing like Gymshark, a lot of those things like really popping up. So I was like, damn,
Yeah.
these guys, like they all look amazing. And so I was with naturally I have a competitive. Naturally, I'm competitive, so I was like, I want to do bodybuilding. You know, I want to take this to the next level. How far can I take my body? Um, and so that's when I really started. And 2013 was when I, no, I'm sorry, 2016 was when I first competed, which was uh, 3 years after I started lifting. And I had no guidance. I kind of just did it all on my own. My one friend did help me out a little bit, but I got like last place, and it was it sucked, but it was kind of like, okay, I need to hire a coach. I need guidance. I can't do this on my own. So that's when I started to, you know, realize that I need a coach. And after 2016, I hired Coach Cuts, and you know, I got first place in overall in 20. So, but you know, that's a long time span, right? So it just goes to show how long it really takes to work the body and you know make it into something that is close to perfection, right? Um, so yeah, it's a long road, and you know, I think even with you, you've been lifting for so long, and like these really big numbers now, and like you've been lifting for so long already, but it takes a long time and just a lot of dedication.
Yeah, that's it's also a really good point because like most of my clients are adults, but they're like younger, like they're in like their 20s, you know what I mean? So yes, they're like fully grown or whatever, but they still haven't even tapped into their potential, like strength and muscular wise, because they're just starting. So they'll get really strong really fast because of all the newbie gains. And sometimes I'm just like, dude, I wasn't able to hit that number for like 3 or 4 years, and you just did it in like 4 months. It's like super frustrating sometimes, but definitely it's a lot harder to build both a really good physique and develop like really really good absolute strength. Like that takes so long, and I it's frustrating because like you see all these really freakish people and it's just like, oh, I want that, but you don't realize like how much work goes into it behind the scenes. So
Yeah,
yeah, I definitely feel you on that.
especially another thing is you know we're doing this naturally too.
Yeah,
So
yeah, for sure. I remember like when I first started lifting and I saw results in a couple months, I'm like, oh, I'm starting to get pretty jacked. And then it was just like, oh, like, okay, now this year I got 2 pounds of muscle. This year is like 1 pound of muscle, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like that as we go. But
yeah,
that being said, like from the time I started lifting until now, I probably added like 30 pounds of muscle on my frame, which when you think about it, like that's a lot, dude. Because I remember being 154 pounds doing wrestling. And now I'm sitting around like 200, and I'm not as lean as I was back then, but like you can see it in my frame. Like I'm way, way, way bigger, which is pretty dope.
yeah. I know. I can't wait to post your next round of transformation pictures because you are a tank, and
It's crazy.
and
Definitely. So one of my other questions for you is, what is your approach to your training split and what are your go-to movements? So I really like how you train, because you're not afraid to do big compound movements like the squat. There's a lot of people who I see doing like men's physique or sometimes even not open class, classic physique, and they don't squat. And I'm just like, how, dude? Like, how are you gonna add some size to your legs? I like how you train because you do rack pulls, so you're doing a hip hinge, overhead pressing, you're benching, whether it be not necessarily like flat benching, but some kind of variation. But like you've done all the big barbell movements, and I like that because I'm a big like powerlifting strength head. So, what's your approach to your training split, and what are your go-to movements?
Yeah. Um, my approach is basically, every day except for arm day, you're going to have compound movements, and you're going to be those slow twitch fibers. So you have type 1 and type 2 muscle fibers, and you want to be working the fast and slow twitch, right? Isn't compounds like lower
Yeah,
fast, right?
yeah,
Okay. It's been a while since I was in school. But yeah, always making sure you hit those compounds, and then accessories will follow. So, if you're hitting chest, I always make sure to be doing, if it's not bench, dumbbell press, incline. It's for back, deadlifts or rack pulls, shoulders, overhead press, dumbbell presses, um, legs, squats. I know that, yeah, there's some who don't squat who compete, but I also hear a lot of the time that these guys, they have knee problems and stuff, so they have to do like leg press. Like Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, he can't squat because he had an injury, so he has to leg press, and he looks phenomenal, right? So, obviously, I'm gonna say like squat is the, like, everyone should squat, but for those who can't squat, leg press will still get you places. Um, you know, you'll have to do a little bit more glute work, but it's still the king. But yeah, when it comes to training split, I like to keep it the same for as long as possible. I don't like to change it around often. If I can choose, I like to keep it for at least a year of doing the same exercise. And the reason why I do that is because for progressive overload, you want to stick to the same exercise, progress with that over time, right? So if I'm doing incline dumbbell presses and I want to grow my upper chest, switching to incline barbell would be that different. If anything, I'm gonna have to start all over again. So why would I switch, right? It's better for me personally to stay on that same exercise going up. So if I got pounds for 10 reps, the next week I want to go for 11 reps, 12 reps, 13 reps. Say if I get to 15, then like, okay, time to go up to 90s, right? So that's kind of my philosophy with training and for all my clients. And the only thing I like to change with clients is the nutrition because, if you're trying to go up weight, right, you should increase the carbs and then you'll be pushing more weight. Otherwise, there's no reason to be changing your workouts because then you have to start all over. And I'm sure you know that too. You have to find like what weight works best for you. And that takes, 1 to 3 weeks, right? So I want to use all that time progressing on the same lifts. Um, but yeah,
yeah. I definitely agree, especially when it comes to including a variety of rep ranges in your training. Because again, like me, I'm a big strength head. So yes, I do want to have lower rep ranges to focus more on strength and fast twitch muscle fibers. But at the same time, I also want to look jacked and have like aesthetics, like have a lot of muscle. So if you're not tearing all the different kinds of fibers, like you're not really covering all your bases. And I remember watching like John Meadows videos, and he would always say, yeah, I love to have all these different rep ranges to make sure you're hitting every single part of the muscle fibers and blah, blah, blah. So for a lot of my clients, like how I structure everything is just like you're saying, you have your big compound movement where it's like slightly lower rep ranges. It doesn't even have to be anything crazy like singles to triples, but even if it's like sets of 6 or sets of 8, that's still a really good strength building foundation. And then after that, like the accessory movements, like yes, they need to add like some muscle. So I'll have like sets of 12, sets of 15, like stuff of that or stuff like that. So
yeah.
definitely agree.
I think that what I should have said is all that really matters is fatigue, right? After a workout, if you don't feel fatigue, if you don't feel like, damn, like I just went through it, then I think you could be pushing yourself a little more. Yeah, as long as you feel that after, like, I think that's all that matters, and having a solid nutrition that you're gonna go places.
Definitely. Definitely. So, what is your approach to balancing your health with your lifestyle? And how do you use this to help your clients achieve their goals? So, a lot of people, especially myself included, tend to be like all or nothing. And so it's like, okay, my sleep, nutrition, all that stuff has to be perfect. My training, I have to go balls to the wall every single session. If the one little thing goes wrong, it's over. Like I screwed up, like I suck, blah blah blah. So how have you found balance over the years, especially for you as a competitor, dieting down to those like body fat percentages and then working out as hard as you do? Like that's got to take a huge toll on your mental. So how do you find balance?
What's balance, man? I'm just kidding. Um, for I think you know this already, but I am really like a taller person, so that's really been a struggle for me, and kind of like a vulnerable moment for sure. Because if I'm not on prep, right, and this is something I learned really recently, because before this year, I was I was like, okay, I'm not competing anytime soon. I'm just gonna like do whatever I want, right? But when I'm prep, like everything is calculated, everything is perfect. I don't mess up. I don't miss a meal. It's always 8 hours on. Everything, yeah, is so on point. And then the moment I'm not on prep is when it's like, okay, what am I working toward? Like, I don't have a goal, so I don't take it as serious. But if I don't, yeah, so if I don't have a deadline, I don't take it as serious. But what I've learned recently is that, I kind of do like an 80-20. So 80% of the week, I'm just talking about nutrition right now, but eating clean, eating healthy, and then 20%, it's like I can fit in like fun foods and stuff, right? So that's the type of approach I took toward my clients, where it's like, hey, listen, all day follow this meal plan, but then you can have popcorn, you can have Oreos, and what I do is like, here is X amount of calories. You can have whatever you want within this amount. So bulking, right? Here's 300 calories. Eat whatever you want every single day, right? Um, so it's really all about balance, and are staying healthy, but you're enjoying it at the same time, so you don't get burnt out. Because it's really easy to get burnt out, especially as a bodybuilder and competitor, because it's like there's so much pressure. You have to be so perfect, and once like your prep is over, then it's like I'm free, right? And I think that's kind of a toxic mentality to have. So I've really been working on trying to say that it's okay to have, you know, one or two, three cheat meals per week. Also eating clean at the same time. So, but yeah, that's just for myself and for all my clients. I try to make it as possible for everyone so that it's sustainable.
Yeah, that's also something that I've really been struggling with, especially over the last 2 years, doing the last two cuts with you. Because the first time, it was definitely about like getting my health in order. Because I was like 236, and I just felt gross. Like my joints would hurt. I felt so sluggish. And you like taught me how to take care of myself, but to structure it in a way that makes it work for my lifestyle. Because I tend to be a very busy person. Like if I'm not doing something, I'm stressed. I'm like, okay, I'm not like working towards something, just like you're saying. So working with you taught me how to, one of the like the big things is like meal prepping, right? I prepped all my meals for the whole week, and it really worked for me because now I don't have that lapse of judgment. Like let's say I'm hungry, okay, my meal's right there. Versus like before I was like, oh, like I'll go to Wendy's and blah blah blah. So working with you kind of taught me how to basically just be smarter about everything and find balance that way. But it was tough because after the first cut, just like you're saying, I was like, all right, like I worked so hard for all this time, now I'm free. And then just ballooned another 30 pounds back up. And then the second time I was like, you know what, I'm going even harder than the first time. And that was tough because it's like, that was more so like the power lifter in me when it came to like beating the numbers. I'm like, okay, well, I have to get the scale even lower than last time. I have to get even leaner than last time. Now I'm starting to find a balance because I was just like you're saying, like getting that burnt out feeling because I was like, okay, I'm tired of having to feel like garbage to look how I want to look. You know what I mean? Now I finally think that I've reached a point where I look pretty good. Obviously, I could look better. I could lose whatever a few pounds. I could get better abs, blah blah blah. But it's finally gotten to the point where it's like, okay, I'm healthy and I'm taking care of my health. I got my cardio in check, my meals in check, my lifts in check, blah blah blah. So, for me, finding the balance is realizing that trying to maintain like that elite level is just not sustainable. You know what I mean? So I don't necessarily want to say like a halfway point, but just find something that's like manageable for you. That's definitely what helped me.
How you talked about the, with the meals and the meal planning, because I think that's such a big factor when people, I work with people, is that realize that they have so much more time in the day because I have a meal plan, right? So follow this; it's all measured out. You don't have to think about anything anymore. You don't have to think about what you eat, and that's one thing that I forgot to mention is that when I'm not on prep, I'm not as structured. So I'm out here thinking like, damn, what am I gonna eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? I don't know. Let me just Starbucks because it's so convenient to get some egg white bites.
Yeah.
Thing. So, do you find that having all your meals out saves you a lot of time and stress throughout the week?
For sure, for sure. Yeah, it sucks sometimes because I always prep on Sundays. And obviously, like if you're prepping for an entire week, it's going to take you at least like 1 to 3 hours, depending on like how proficient you are. And that part kind of sucks. But then it's like during the week, I'm stress free because again, I just go and I grab something. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so it definitely helps a lot having everything prepped out. Uh, I also think you and I are kind of lucky because of what we do. We've kind of structured our lives to make it so that way we can like lift when we want to. You know what I mean? I know that's not necessarily realistic for everybody. Um, but for me, like I always make sure I have that time to get my lift in. Like I always make sure I have that me time. And that's kind of like my downtime that helps me stay like sane. So I feel like everybody should try to do that. I know it's hard, especially if people commute for their jobs and blah, blah, blah. Like I have one client that has to go back and forth through the city and he ended up not being able to lift because the train broke down on the way home.
Oh,
So I was like, yeah, I know. So I was like, oh, this sucks, dude, but it's okay. Like you still have the weekend. Like it doesn't always have to be these set days of the week. You just got to try to make it happen.
yep.
Definitely. So next question is a little more technical. What's your approach to calculating people's basal metabolic rate and then making a game plan to lose weight or sometimes to recomp from there? So I'm not a huge nutrition head. I know the basics like protein, fats, carbs. I know BMR, blah, blah, blah. So what's your approach to that kind of thing? Because I have no idea like how you calculate each individual person.
A lot of different types of calculators out there that you can use. I tend to find that a lot of the time the calculators will give you outrageous calories. Now, if someone is trying to bulk, it'll be like 1,000 calories like surplus. If someone's trying to shred, it's like a crazy deficit. But what my approach is, I like to think about how much someone weighs, right? So I take the basics: height, weight, age, right? Um, so I like to think like if someone weighs 200 pounds, right? There's so many different factors in there, but let's just give an example. So if you weigh 200 pounds, right? I'm going to give you, um, you lift a lot, so I'm going to give you 120 grams of protein a day, right? So once I have the protein figured out, I like to work around that with the fats and the carbs, right? So the fats, I like to keep, anywhere from 55 to 65 grams of fats a day. Sometimes I go higher depending on the carbs, right? If carbs are lower, then the fat compensate and be higher. But if the carbs are high, which I usually tend to prefer, um, I start with these amount of calories, right? And I see how someone's body will react. Typically, well, I like to give everyone food, like basic proteins like chicken and steak and fish, and then rice and potatoes, sweet potatoes and veggies and eggs, fats or avocado. Um, I feel like a lot of people's bodies aren't used to having these types of foods on a daily basis. Um, I have this one client right now who, I set him on a certain amount of calories, and we're dropping every week, if not every, and he is just muscle like you could probably hate him because of how quickly he's gaining muscle in a def like it's unbelievable. Uh, Set amount of macros and calories and on their meal plan and see how their body reacts. If it reacts well, then we just keep that going. I either drop or raise calories. Um, but I think it requires a lot of intuition as well. Um, because if I approached it from like a science, where it's like I'm gonna put your numbers in this calculator and tell you to eat this much, like I'd say 98% of people would be like, this is way too much food for me. Like I can't eat this much in a day. Like when I did like your carb up before like one those one meats, like imagine eating that every single day. Like that's just realistic. Um, so yeah, adjust as time progresses and see how someone's body reacts, how the weight fluctuates, how they look in pictures. So yeah, um, kind of take it week by week. But um, yeah, it's a lot of fun doing a recomp, especially because you're trying to get this person strength, keep them around the amount of calories for as long as possible, and just pack muscle on so it takes up space around the fat so that it is where muscle will replace fat. So yeah, it's a fun process, and I love it every single time it happens.
Nice. And I really like working with you because you understand my goals, right? Like, yes, I'm like a lifestyle client, but you understand that like strength and having muscle is a focus for me. And also like having a good body composition is important to me. So it's like for some people, I feel like it's a little easier or harder to help them out with their goals because it's like, okay, well, if you want to have a good body composition, you're gonna have to eat cleaner. Your protein's gonna have to be higher because of the thermic effect. Blah blah blah. Versus other people, if they're just like, okay, dude, like I can't eat like this, but I still want to try to look a certain way. I feel like it's harder to make everything balance out. And I also really like your approach because you care really, or wow, I can speak. You care a lot about like people's health, hormone balance levels, like especially like I remember like deep in a deficit, if I felt like garbage, you're like, dude, yeah, you got to eat this, otherwise like your hormones are gonna suck and you're not gonna be able to sleep and blah blah blah. So I really like your approach to all these different things. Let me see what's next. So what things have changed for your coaching over the years?
Um, what has changed? I think flexible so that let's someone wants to include fun foods. I am much more open to that now than I was 2 or 3 years ago, where I was just like, nah, I can't eat those foods. Like, it's not going to be good for you. But now that I've experimented so much and I've worked with so many people, that I see that, having, um, like Oreos at night or fitting meal plan doesn't really, it's not detrimental to the long term progress. If anything, it progress because it's more sustainable and someone's mental and emotional state is more leveled out than how, how I would coach someone 2 or 3 years ago, where I would just say like, suck it up, like get through it. So I'd say I care more about people's feelings and their the way that they're feeling, and more so now. So, but that's been a lot of fun though, to try to do some math and figure out like, okay, how much popcorn can Alex fit into his day, right? So,
Exactly.
um, yeah, I mean that's really all. Yeah, that's really changed. My, my coaching style is pretty much the same as I was talking about. The workouts don't really change, unless someone says, "Hey, I feel like I can do more. Or I'm not feeling this leg day as much anymore. I want, like supersets and stuff like that." So, being a coach requires a lot of listening. So I'm sure you know.
Definitely. Yeah, and everybody's different too. And just like you're saying, like some people honestly might even be able to push harder than others. Some people might react certain ways to different things. So yeah, definitely got to be very intuitive. What about your own personal approach to your nutrition and your training? How's that changed over the years? So I remember when I first started lifting, I was a huge advocate of the bro split, just doing one body part like for each day of the week. And now that I've gotten more advanced in my lifting, like I gotta hit stuff at least twice a week. Otherwise, either my numbers stagnate or I don't really see any like size difference over the span of a couple months. So what about you?
I agree with that. In the beginning, I was just like, why would I train a body part twice a week? Like, I don't need to do that. It sounds counterintuitive. Doing chest and shoulders twice a week, and then my upper chest, like, I was like, wow, I actually have an upper chest now. So just from doing that twice a week, but yeah, definitely agree that that's something that the way that I train now, um, that I will take on, you know, 2 times a week on the same body part. Um, yeah, definitely that's one way to bring up a lacking body part is to hit that twice a week. So yeah,
Yeah, definitely. And the other thing is, I'm realizing like you can still keep training intensity while hitting things more than once a week. So I remember, like, I never thought hitting things twice a week really made sense because I was like, with how hard, let's say like legs for example, with how hard I go for legs, the DOMs are there pretty much the entire week. So
yeah,
I'm like, how can I hit this again? Blah blah blah. But then I realized like, oh, if you split everything up and then you're not going, let's say, to complete failure for your session, then you'll be recovered in time a couple days later to be able to hit them again. And then that's when you start to see like your body adapts and blah blah blah, and you're able to train harder more often. So
sore and you recover just in time to get sore again.
exactly, exactly. Let me see. So, what strategies do you use when a client's metabolism slows as they lose weight? So, for those people who don't know, um, you're able to burn more calories when you're heavier. So, for example, like let's say you go for a walk, a person who's 200 pounds is going to burn more calories than a person who's 100 pounds because it's like the weight times the distance, blah blah blah. So, what's your approach when people either have like stubborn fat or their metabolism starts to slow down as they start getting closer and closer to where their body's like uncomfortable?
Dude, my favorite part of coaching people is when it gets really hard and difficult and that stuff that won't come off. I absolutely love this part because as a coach or as someone who is trying to change people's bodies through nutrition training, always have to have another card up your sleeve, um, because if you then there's nowhere to go. So what I'm trying to say is, let's say you have stubborn fat on you, right? And put you in a huge deficit, right? And if you're in a huge deficit and and you get to a certain weight and you're not losing any weight anymore, you're just feeling like death. And I have you doing 60 minutes of cardio a day, or let's say, yeah, 60 minutes of cardio a day, and a huge deficit. Your body's not responding. That's my fault. I should not have you that low, and I should be killing you that much. Um, so I'll have to do things in a matter of um, small changes. And let's say 1 week you're not losing any weight, right? And 2 weeks go and you're not losing any weight. Okay, now it's time to lower carbs a little bit, the cardio a little bit. Anything. Walk could be increasing your step count for the day, an extra ab workout. The key is really just having like all things and tricks so that the body can keep on going. So, um, but yeah, one of the craziest changes though is switching from like chicken and steak and salmon, and then giving a client like tilapia. That's such a lean fish. The body responds incredibly, and it will lose that stubborn fat very quickly. So yeah, there's always something you can do, and that's why it's always best to start with a lot higher amount of calories, and then slowly work your way down so the metabolism doesn't get burnt out and slow down. Um, so the great thing is that once you get to a low amount of calories and you're at your goal, like you're happy with yourself and you're like, okay, I'm shredded, right? The best thing at that point is that there's not much fat on your body, so that means that your insulin sensitivity is higher, so it makes it easy to gain muscle. Um, so that's why I think you gained so much size and muscle and strength because you were leaner this time, and we were slowly raising your calories, and so your insulin sensitivity was a lot higher, and the carbs, like your muscle, eating up those carbs. So, but yeah, that's what I have to do is always have a trick up my sleeve to keep the body going, and I won't reveal all my secrets, but I guess the fish and the cardio are two of them.
Yeah, it was definitely really interesting to see, especially like uh both the first and the second cut, honestly. But like when I would get down to like the low 190s and we would start to hit that plateau, you're like, all right, so just like you're saying, up your steps a little bit, or we would drop the carbs a little bit, or we would switch to like a leaner protein source, and then be like, boom, instantly like 2 or 3 pounds in like a week. I was like, dude, how? Like, this is so crazy. And definitely, like, I've loved, especially this last I don't like to use the word bulk because I wasn't like eating in like a super excess amount of calories, but like basically like a lean bulk, like working my way slowly back up. That was really, really good. And I love doing that because I was able to maintain a healthy weight, look pretty decent. But I just felt so much better, like you were saying, because we weren't like going all out like in either direction. So it was a really good choice for sure. Let me see what's next. Next one, I feel like a lot of people are curious about what are some of your go-to supplements and which supplements do you think are worth using versus not. There's a lot of confusion when it comes to this stuff, and it's funny because like I'll have different clients ask me, it's like, oh well, what supplements do you use? And I'm like, oh, I use these, and it's like, well, why do you use them? Like my coach tells me to use these, blah blah blah, and like I understand basics, like yes, using protein powders that's going to help you get your protein count for the day, or you have like your green supplements that's going to be good for your health, your multivitamins, blah blah blah. So what are some of your go-to supplements, and which ones do you think are actually worth buying versus like, okay, this is only going to help a little bit, it's not really worth your money?
Well, I'd say a lot of supplements are unnecessary for those who are lifestyle. They're right. For an athlete, you want to be putting premium gas in the tank. So I think that's the reason why I take supplements and I have you take those supplements is because you're an athlete and you want to be performing at the highest level possible for your uh, competitive nature. So take when I wake up, I do my fasted cardio, right? So I take carnitine and liposide from Evogen, which is like a thermogenic fat burner, caffeine, um, crescent, that type of thing. So that helps me like sweat, gets my heart rate up a little bit. It kind of sounds unhealthy when I really think about it. Like, damn, I need to get my heart rate up. Like, it doesn't sound good, but um, I'm fine. After that, I take Greens, which is a probiotic, so I set my gut bacteria for the day. So whenever I eat, it's going to be digesting properly, so I can go to the bathroom. And then I take a multivitamin, um, which I think everyone should be taking a multivitamin. Um, I think it's just important because the average person definitely doesn't hit all their um, vitamins for the day, or even mic. Um, what is it called? Like micro? No,
Yeah, the micronutrients.
micronutrients, right? So they don't even hit those. But after that, I probably take just pre-workout, which is non-stim. I don't really like the caffeine rush. Um, Makes it hard for me to go to sleep. And then protein powder post workout, and that's really it. I'd say that the supplements that are um, unusual or something that people would be like, why do you take like turmeric, like black pepper extract, um, alpha lipoic acid, which kind of does the same thing that like omega-3. Um, Collagen. I think collagen is important. I take that back. Everyone should be taking collagen. Really good for your joints and your tissues. Just keeping the body strong, right? Because what happens when bone breaks. Typically, your bones won't break. You're taking collagen on it, nice and strong. I also take vitamin D for immune and bone health. Um, Gosh, what else do I take? I take digestive support just because I have 5 meals a day. Take digestive support or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that twice a day, and um, but yeah, that's just a lot of extra things that I just being a part of. It's just part of being an athlete, and it's not something that's absolutely necessary. I say for the average gym goer, someone who wants to be healthy and see some progress in the gym, I'd say, multivitamin, protein powder, the probiotic, and yeah, I mean, that's really it.
I'm assuming creatine too, depending on the level of the lifter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. A lot of the stuff I take, you're really not gonna need if you're like a newbie. It's just because I've been doing it so long at this point, like now it's starting to get to where I need that tiny bit of an edge. So just like you're saying, like collagen, I take that as well, especially because I do like powerlifting and I'm lifting heavy all the time. I want my joints and everything to be strong. And especially because of like the wear and tear over time, that's a big one. Uh, what else? The Eva Greens, just like you were saying. And then I recently started taking glutamine last year. I think, yeah, I think it's been about a year, something like that. Just because like I was having a really hard time recovering, and I needed something to kind of help me a little bit. And that's also like you're saying, the digestive aid, like that kind of thing. But I really don't think like people need all these different supplements because it's so easy to fall down the rabbit hole, and then you're spending like three, four, $500 on supplements, and it's just like, dude, you really only need like less than half of this. So, yeah, I appreciate you giving that insight. Let me see. So, how do you keep your love for lifting and nutrition after all this time, and how do you personally avoid burnout? I feel like you and I, we've had conversations like outside of this interview talking about this kind of thing. So, what kind of realizations have you had, and how do you keep like your, I guess, like motivation, if you will, after all this time?
Um, I'd say, well, no, I think the biggest thing is that I'm an owner of a health and wellness, company, so I am the image of the, so I need to be on top of my health, and it's kind of like it forces me to stay in shape and eat correctly, is because I have to set an example for my clients. If I'm not doing the work, then why should I be telling you to do the work, right? So I think that's a huge driving factor in why I feel a need to keep going. Yeah, of course, sometimes I feel burnout, but it's that cheat meal or that definitely keep me going. And not only that, but having a goal in mind. So, like, next year I'm going to compete, right? So I need to focus to compete and win, right? If I go on stage again, I need to and I want to look better than I did last. Because if I look smaller or the same, like, what's the point, right? If I'm not progressing, then what's really the point of competing? But in terms of just being healthy and working out, I mean, um, it's that feeling of getting a workout done. It's like unlike any other. It's just like, damn, like I did that, I moved that weight. So those are the things that I could say I fell in love with, is that like that progression and just um, keeping that ball going, that keeps me alive and you know focused in terms of staying true to my nutrition and my training. So yeah, it's definitely hard sometimes for sure to keep that going. But um, yeah, I mean, I think it's always important to have that goal in mind. Like, okay, so what am I working toward now? What am I trying to accomplish in the short term and the long term future, and having those types of goals.
Nice. Yeah, it's honestly it's really interesting because I feel like for me personally, it's been a lot easier to not get burned out by focusing on my nutrition, just because I feel so much better when I do. Like I remember like hitting you up after my fiance's birthday. We were in the city, and I'm like, dude, this sucked. Like I felt like garbage, like eating the garbage food, not drinking enough water, like not having enough veggies. Like I feel like trash, dude. As soon as I hop back on plan, I'm like, nice. Like I feel good. So definitely like nutrition burnout hasn't really been a thing. Also because now I've been doing this for so long, I actually know how to prepare the food. Whereas like before I might not have known how to cook properly. And let's say like the chicken came out and it was like super dry and I'm like, oh dude, like I hate this. Now it's gotten to the point where I enjoy all of my meals. Every single one. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like I found food that I like. I can definitely focus on sticking to this.
Yeah.
As for training perspective, that was a little bit tougher because I've had, I think, like 5 or 6 coaches over the last like 3 or 4 years. So it was hard constantly giving 110% for each coach and trying to go harder and harder and harder. So that was difficult. Yeah,
I
exactly.
that because you're talking about training coaches. You've only had one nutrition coach, so I feel honored.
Yeah, exactly, dude. So that's how you know you're doing something right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was tough, dude, because I would go from like these different coaches, and it was hard, like constantly trying to get them under 10%, and I would just feel so burnt out because I would go hard all the time. Now it's finally gotten to a point where I found a programming coach that I really like that understands how to have me work hard without burning me out, and also kind of like because I struggle with not giving 110% every single lift, helping me kind of like rein things in so that way I see like the long term goal and I'm not so focused on just hitting PRs every single week and then frying out by the time I'm 30. So it's definitely helped a lot. Um, so my last question for you is, what are your personal business and fitness goals for basically, I guess, like the rest of the year and then also into next year?
Personal and business goals, or personal, business, and fitness goals.
Yeah.
Um, Personal goals. Start saving up for. Um, I mean, I've been, but like engaged. Time to really start setting money aside. So that's exciting. Huge, huge step in life. Um, for business, I have quite a few ideas. Definitely want to get some apparel by the end of the year. Um, so have that for every single client. Um, let's see, kind of grow my community or so. So, have more fun within, my group of clients, right? So, um, have like small challenges for the week and do small things like that. I think I was telling you about that.
Yeah.
It's just, it's always, I have so many ideas, but it's just always a matter of, and so, but yeah, those are like the two main things that definitely work on this year because I have the app now, I have the website up and running now. It's just like, okay, how can I make the experience of being in, being in this community? How can I make that experience better for everyone? Um, so, that's one of my biggest goals for the rest of the year. Um, what else? Fitness. Fitness is to just keep on shredding. So kind of get a little bit leaner, not like competition lean because I was going to compete in November, but I decided not to just because um, there's just so many things. I just got engaged. You have to go to different venues and try food. So it's just like there's no way I'm going to be able to go compete. And now that I started working with fiance, so it's a lot. But you know, definitely want to keep on shredding. That's my goal for the rest of the year, so that look better, do some photo shoots. Um, uh, yeah, I mean, look as best as I can. I think that's my goal.
Nice, dude. Yeah, I mean, all the stuff that you've been doing has looked really, really good. Like the app is awesome. Your website looks great. So definitely keep that stuff up. I'm really excited for when you drop apparel. I'm definitely going to be rocking that like all the time. So
Dude,
let me know.
rocking apparel all over Italy.
Nice.
And
Yeah, that's awesome.
people be like, who is this Alex? Where is he?
That's funny, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, it makes me really hype when I see people like wearing like my tanks or like the shirts and stuff like that in the different gyms. So definitely trying to get my brand and everything out there.
man. Yeah. So once I get some apparel, you should expect a nice drop off package.
Yes, sir. I need a hoodie, a tank, and a short sleeve. I
Damn,
need all.
you got a Christmas list already.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you for doing this interview. I appreciate you as always. It's been awesome working with you over the last couple of years. If you guys don't already, please follow Steve. Very, very knowledgeable. He's an awesome dude. And yeah, let's do something like this again. I definitely want to interview you like once you get like to your competition. I want to interview like what that process is like for you. So we'll definitely do this again.
Yeah, man. For sure. Thanks for having me, man.
No problem. All right, my dude. I will talk to you later.
Peace.
See ya.